Welcome back, dear learners. In our previous session, we explored line 1 to 36 of Canto 1 from Alexander Pope's The Rape of the Lock, examining its satirical tone, elevated style, and dreamlike setting. So, today we move forward from line 37 from here, where the guardian sylph Ariel begins his detailed address to Belinda. This portion reveals the mystical system of spirits, their duties, their influence on women, combining the classical grandeur with the witty mock heroic flavor. So let's begin our line by line explanation and uncover the deeper meaning Pope embeds within this fantastical framework. So let's begin the poem. So the the line is, hear and believe, thy own importance know, nor bound thy narrow views to things below. So these two lines are part of the dream sequence where Ariel, Belinda's guardian self, speaks to her. The self is trying to awaken in her a sense of self worth and spiritual awareness, which is wrapped in the mock epic style. So, hear and believe. This imperative phrase reflects the tone of divine revelation. The self Ariel commands Belinda to listen carefully and have faith in what is being disclosed. So the style echoes that of religious or biblical language, almost like a prophetic call. Listen and trust in the truths I reveal to you. तो ये बिल्कुल वैसा ही है. So the poem is a satirical, elevated, trivial matters to the epic seriousness. The mock serious tone here implies that Belinda is being asked to believe in a cosmic truth, but that truth is about her beauty and social importance, right? Not anything truly sacred. So Pope clearly mimics the tone of epics like Paradise Lost and others. Now the this phrase, thy narrow views, sorry, thy own importance, no, this one. So the self now urges Belinda to recognize her own value. The importance is not spiritual or intellectual, but rooted in her beauty, femininity, and the place in high society. So this is again a mock heroic topic, the serious tone that used to emphasize something rather shallow. So Pope is criticizing how society, especially in 18th century aristocracy, overvalues appearance and vanity, right? And treating beauty as if it were a divine gift or duty. So Belinda is portrayed as being as important as a goddess, but only because of her looks here. ये जो दूसरी लाइन है, nor bound thy narrow views to things below. So here the self advises Belinda not to limit her understanding of life to mere earthly matters. जो ये यहाँ पे words है ना, things below, here it may refer to materialism, vanity, worldly concern, but ironically this entire poem is filled with obsession over trivial worldly matters. So this line carries a double edge actually. On one level it is elevating Belinda, suggesting that she has a spiritual and cosmic role, and but on a deeper satirical level, Pope mocks the superficiality of that world where a stolen lock of hair becomes a massive tragedy, right? So irony is here, the lofty tone contrasts with the trivial content. This entire these lines actually imitates the grandeur of classical epics while applying it to petty aristocratic concerns. So this is a there is a personification and at apostrophe, the self as a messenger of heaven is a parody of divine inspiration, right? So these line encapsulates Pope's brilliant use of mock epic tone. The self's message appears to be one of empowerment, but but underlying the satire exposes the shallow foundation of that power, that is beauty, pride, and societal glamour. Pope subtly criticizes how Enlightenment values were often overshadowed by superficial social rituals. Now the next lines are: some secret truths from learned pride concealed, to maids alone and children are revealed. So this first line, uh, some secret truth from learned pride concealed. There are hidden truths in the universe that are not known to the learned, those who are full of pride due to their education or intellect, right? So these truths are international intentionally these truths are intentionally kept away from philosophers, scientists, and scholars who rely solely on logic, reason, and pride in their learning. So Pope is actually making a satirical reference to enlightenment thinkers, that the era's emphasis on reason, knowledge, and empirical thoughts. So the self claims that the true wisdom, the truths, is hidden from those who are too proud. जो बहुत ही लर्न और बहुत ही प्राइड लोग हैं ना, सेल्फ क्लेम कर रहा है कि ट्रुथ विजडम तो उनसे भी हिडन है, ठीक है. So this is deeply ironic, and in the classical epic or religious text, secret knowledge is often divine, but here the so-called secrets may only concern matters of fashion, love, and etiquette. So secret truths are not theological or metaphysical, but trivial. So this line mocks the idea that deep truths are being spoken. So usually the scholars are seen as keepers of truth. Here they are deliberately excluded. The next line is to mate alone children and revealed. So the secrets are instead made known to young and the innocent woman. Maid refers to innocent women, so and children, so who are considered pure, untainted, and open-hearted. So this line unturns traditional hierarchies upside down rather than adults or scholars possessing wisdom. So here it's given to those often dismissed as naive or ignorant. So this connects to the romantic, or we can say the pre-romantic ideal of purity and innocence and being closer to truth than the cold logic. So again, there is a satirical exaggeration. Alexander Pope is poking fun at how society romanticizes youth and beauty and simplicity, suggesting perhaps that it is these groups who dictate the tone of upper class society and its priority. So basically, it's a mock epic structure. Pope mimics religious and epic traditions where sacred truths are revealed only to the chosen ones. Right? Now, if we go through the deep thought, so these two lines actually offers a brilliant glimpse to Pope's intellectual wit. He critiques not only the superficiality of the aristocracy but also the hollowness of intellectual pride. In doing so, Pope suggests that both extremes, vain and beauty, vain beauty and vain intellect, can be equally blind to the true wisdom. Right? Now the next line is word though, ये दो है, इसका शॉर्ट में लिखा है ये, word though not credit doubting wits may give. So it means even if clever skeptical people do not believe in these stories or truth. It doesn't matter at all. Doubting wits, this one. Doubting wits refers to rational, intellectual minds, perhaps scientists, philosophers, or enlightenment thinkers who rely only on reason and refuse to believe in things like spirits or vision. So the speaker who is self is a speaker, he acknowledges the rational minds may mock or dismiss the idea of guardian spirits, airy beings and cosmic forces guiding human affairs, but the tone is dismissive of such skepticism, like बोलो ना what though, so it implies a shrug, who cares what they think. So this line uses a rhetorical structure to belittle skeptics' viewpoint, right? Now the next line is, the fair and innocent shall still believe. So despite skepticism of the wits, beautiful and innocent women like Belinda, fair and innocent girl like Belinda, will continue to believe in these airy spirits and their magical influence. So sincere, यहाँ पे जो टोन है वो काफ़ी सिंसियर है, because the self wants to assure Belinda that she is special and chosen. So satirical is inherent because Pope is pointing out how easily upper class women still believe in fanciful romanticized ideas rather than practical truths. The fair and innocent is an these words are for Belinda. So it's an idealized description showing how women were often viewed in the 18th century, which are pure, passive, and beautiful. So the line suggests a division between reason and imagination, between skeptics and dreamers. So these two lines reflected some themes like innocence versus rationality. The innocent belief is valued above intellectual cynicism. The second theme is mock epic duality. So Pope treats a trivial subject with the seriousness of epic tradition, and there is gender commentary as well. This also reflects how women were socially expected to be believers, were not thinkers. There is a stereotype Pope subtly critiques, right? So these lines reinforces Pope's central satire in a world obsessed with beauty, status, and appearance. Belief in charming illusions often outweighs harsh truth. Whether Pope is celebrating this belief and or mocking it, or doing both at once, is the brilliance of his poetic craft, right? Now the next line. Know then unnumbered spirits round thee fly. ये दी का मतलब होता है यू. ये मैंने आपको शेक्सपियर का जो हम प्लेस वगैरह पढ़ रहे थे, दोनों प्ले, वहाँ पर मैंने आपको बताया था. ये अर्काइक है, ये अर्काइक वे है लिखने का, दी यानी कि यू. सो द सेल्फ इज टेलिंग बेलिंडा, बी अवेयर द काउंटलेस unnumbered means the countless invisible spirits are constantly surrounding you, so you must be aware. ठीक है, unnumbered का मतलब यहाँ पर ये है काउंटलेस और इन्फिनिट इन नंबर. स्पिरिट्स जो है यहाँ पर ये सेल्स को बोला गया है, इट रेफर्स टू सेल्स, राइट. The supernatural airy beings assigned to protect beautiful and virtuous women in like Belinda, right? So this line elevates Belinda's status. She is so important that a celestial army of spirits is tasked with watching over her. It creates an atmosphere of enchantment and mystery, fitting the mock epic tone where minor aristocratic concerns are treated like cosmic affairs, right? So these spirits symbolizes the social rules, customs, appearance that surrounds and control women in high society, right? Now the next line is, the light militia of lower sky. So it means the self are described as light militia. It's like a military and airy light militia. Militia मतलब a delicate army, and lower sky मतलब हो गया it refers to the atmosphere just above the earth, not heaven. सिर्फ अर्थ से थोड़ा ऊपर, जैसे ये हो गया अर्थ, हो गया ये अर्थ, इससे बस थोड़ा ऊपर, हेवन यहाँ है, ठीक है। एक मिनट ठीक से बनाती हूँ मैं। ये अर्थ का सरफेस है, अर्थ वैसे फ्लैट नहीं है लेकिन सरफेस फ्लैट है, ठीक है। ये इसका यहाँ पर जस्ट अबव द अर्थ, और यहाँ है हेवन। तो ये वाला जो एरिया इसकी बात हो रही है, लोअर स्काई, ठीक है। सो इट रेफर्स टू द एटमोसफेयर जस्ट अबव द अर्थ, नॉट हेवन बट अ रीजन close to the mortal world. So this phrase combines the grandeur of military imagery, तो ये military imagery है यहाँ पर, with the delicacy of cells, कि जो cells है वो airy हैं, तो airy हैं तो वो light हैं. So it's a satirical. Pope exaggerates their role as though they were heavenly warriors, but they are actually fluttering around women's dressing rooms, guarding beauty and modesty instead of empires. So the tone is humorous and ironic here, ठीक है। So these two lines continue Pope's blend of mock heroic tone and social satire. He elevates triviality, beauty, fashion, courtship by placing it in an epic, cosmic setting. Through gentle irony, Pope invites us to admire the surface brilliance even as he exposes its emptiness. Now the next line is, these though unseen are ever on the wing. So these refers to these cells, though invisible, unseen, मतलब ये जो cells हैं, जब though invisible, unseen, ये cells हैं बट ये ह्यूमन आई से अनसीन है, मतलब ये इनविजिबल है, दो इनविजिबल टू द ह्यूमन आई, आर कॉन्स्टेंटली फ्लाइंग अराउंड, इट मीन्स आर एवर ऑन द विंग। ये जो सेल्स हैं भले ही वो हमें दिख नहीं रही है लेकिन वो हमेशा अपने विंग्स पर रहती हैं। इट मीन्स दीज सेल्स although they are invisible to the human eye but they are constantly flying around. सो एवर ऑन द रिंग का मतलब, सॉरी, एवर ऑन द विंग का मतलब भी यही है दैट दे आर ऑलवेज इन मोशन, ऑलवेज एक्टिव एंड कॉन्स्टेंटली विजिलेंट। दे आर ऑलवेज इन ऑन द विजिलेंस, ये हमेशा प्रोटेक्शन के लिए रेडी रहती हैं ब्यूटीफुल विमेन की। सो द सेल्फ आर रेस्टलेस, दे आर टायरलेस, they are guardian of fashionable women like Belinda. So this line emphasizes fantastical atmosphere of the poem where supernatural beings hover and protect women not from the real danger but from social embarrassment, broken hearts or the misplaced girl. So Pope seems to be drawing at a parallel with angelic protector but satirical regards them as guardian of vanity and social decorum. So the tone is light, whimsical and mock heroic. It sounds grand but is aimed at highlighting superficial societal norms. Now the next line is, hang over the box. Box refers to the theatre boxes at fashionable plays which were prime locations for the aristocracy to be seen, ठीक है। Now next, the hover round the ring. Ring refers to the ring refers to Hyde Park's circular road where the elite would ride carriages and show off fashion and status. ये जो रिंग है ना, ये एक्चुअली एक हाइड पार्क है, लाइक पार्क ऐसे हो गया सर्कल में, ये वहाँ का एक पार्क है, उसकी बात हो रही है हाइड पार्क की। यहाँ मैं लिख देती हूँ हाइड पार्क, उसके सराउंडिंग में एक सर्कुलर रोड है, ये पार्क हो गया ये, इसके सराउंडिंग में एक सर्कुलर रोड है वेयर द इलीट वुड राइड द कैरेजेस एंड शो ऑफ फैशन एंड स्टेटस। सो हैंग ओवर द बॉक्स, Box is the theater box at the fashionable place, and hover round the ring. So it means the sylphs are describing as hovering around these high society places. ये जो circular road है, ये एक high society place है जहाँ पर elites घूमते हैं, carriages को ride करते हैं, अपने शो ऑफ करते हैं अपने फैशन और स्टेटस को. तो जो सल्स हैं ये भी डिस्क्राइब कर रहे हैं कि दे आर होवरिंग अराउंड दीज हाई सोसाइटी प्लेसेस, watching and perhaps influencing the behavior of women like Belinda. They guard not just the private beauty rituals but also public performance of status and elegance. Right? So these locations like theatre box or the ring represent public stages of aristocratic display, and the sylphs hang there to protect women's image, poise and reputation. So Pope uses these references to gently mock the aristocracy's obsession with appearance and performance. Right, the next line is, एक मिनट, हाँ इससे पहले थोड़ा सा इसके ऊपर एक और चीज़ है कि ये जो लाइंस हैं ये हैंग ओवर वाली, थ्रू दिस लाइन पोप ब्लेंड्स मैजिकल फैंटेसी with biting satire. He presents sylphs not as a guardian of great causes but of beauty, elegance and social reputation through the whimsical image of spirits hovering over theatre boxes and park loops. Pope continues his exploration of world where triviality is treated with reverence and appearance govern existence. Now the next lines are, think what an equipage thou hast in air. So the sylph urges Belinda to imagine magnificent entourage that she has not on land but in the air. So equipage refers to an elegant, impressive mode of transport or a possessions of attendants often linked with aristocratic display. So instead of human servants or a grand carriage, जो सर्कुलर रोड की बात हुई थी तो वहाँ पे कैरेज को ये लोग राइड करते हैं ना सारे एलिट्स. तो ये कह रहा है कि तुम इमेजिन करो कि तुम कोई बहुत ही एलिगेंट इम्प्रेसिव मोड ऑफ ट्रांसपोर्टेशन में हो जहाँ पर तुम्हारे जो अटेंडेंट्स हैं वो सारे सल्स हैं. तो इंस्टेड ऑफ ह्यूमन servants or grand carriage, Belinda has a host of invisible heavenly attendants, sylphs, which are sylphs, and they are following her everywhere, right? So it implies that her beauty and charm are so divine that she commands a supernatural retinue. So Pope parodies the epic tradition of warriors with celestial protectors by assigning Belinda her own magical army of airborne spirits. So it magnifies her importance, but ironically, so it's all about since it's all about appearance, flirtation and vanity, not actual heroic deeds. So the tone is very playful and poking fun at the aristocracy's obsession with outward display, right? And the theme of illusion versus substance continues. It can be seen here. Her equipage is made of air and quite literally an empty shoe. The next line is, and view will scorn 2 pages and a chair. So Belinda is told to despise ordinary human luxuries like pages. Pages are basically क्या होते हैं, ये होते हैं young male attendants, उनको pages बोलते हैं. And a sedan chair, ये जो चेयर है ना, ये एक सिडान चेयर है. इट्स अ लग्जूरियस मोड ऑफ ट्रांसपोर्टेशन. तो जो कैरेज होता है उस पर जो चेयर लगी होती है वो बहुत ही ज़्यादा कंफर्टेबल होती है, बहुत ही लग्जूरियस होती है. तो वो कह रहा है कि तुम्हारा जो कैरेज होगा उसमें बहुत ही कंफर्टेबल, बहुत ही महंगी, बहुत ही लग्जूरियस मोड वाली चेयर होगी, प्लस तुम्हारे पास 2 पेजेस होंगे, द यंग मेल अटेंडेंट्स. So Pope gently mocks Belinda's and by extension society's fondness for pomp by saying she should scorn earthly splendor and he ironically highlights how she is just as invested in it, but he elevates it to the realm of fantasy. So this line ridicules aristocratic vanity, implying that the sense of grandeur is so inflated that the only invisible spirits can match it, right? So irony lies in the suggestion that equipage in air is more valuable than real service. It mocks the superficiality of fashionable pretensions. And the chair is literal but also metaphorical, a symbol of aristocratic indulgence and shows. Right? So these lines deepen Pope's satirical portrayal of Belinda and the aristocracy by placing her above by placing her above common aristocratic displays and granting her an invisible mystical escort. Pope cleverly exaggerates and ridicules her inflated social position. Her glory, Belinda's glory, lies not in noble acts, but it's in beauty, flirtation, and fashion, and watched over by a loyal but absurdly serious band of sylphs. Now the next line is, as you own, our beings were of old. So the sylph tells Belinda that the sylphs were once like her, human beings. So कहते हैं कि जो sylphs थे ना, वो पहले कभी तुम्हारे जैसे थे, young, beautiful, but now they मतलब सॉरी नहीं, वही कहते हैं कि जो sylphs है वो पहले ओल्ड हुआ करते थे, जैसे इंसान हो जाते हैं, एक टाइम पर यंग रहते हैं, फिर उसके बाद ओल्ड हो जाते हैं. सो द सिल्फ टेल्स दैट दे वर वंस लाइक ह्यूमन बींग्स, स्पेशली they once lived in the form of women just like her before becoming airy spirits. So there is a suggestion that beautiful flirtatious women who lived in past transformation into sylphs after death. So these spirits now exist in the air, watching over current beauties like Belinda. And this line builds on the mock heroic mythology that Pope has invented for his satire. It blurs the line between the mortal and immortal, the physical and metaphysical, suggesting a whimsical spiritual afterlife reserved for copts. So Pope is gently poking fun at how society almost defies beauty and flirtation, as if these qualities are so transcendent they live on in another form. So he creates a mythos around vain women, turning their frivolous charms into a spiritual legacy. Right? The next line is, and once enclosed in woman's beauteous mold. So the sylph continues that they were once housed in women's beauteous mold. Women's beauteous mold means the beautiful physical bodies of women, right? So these spirits used to be lovely and charming women, now freed from their earthly form, like they have become a airy spirit now. Enclosed जो है यहाँ पर ये enclosed, इसका मतलब है that invokes the idea of being temporarily contained in a body, कि जो अभी तुम लोग हो लाइक बेलिंडा, जो भी लोग हैं अभी ये इनक्लोज हैं अपनी बॉडी में, जैसे ये भी कभी हुआ करती थी, लेकिन एक टाइम के बाद जब इनकी लाइफ पूरी हो गई तो ये अपनी इस बॉडी से आज़ाद हो गई. ठीक है, नाउ दे आर फ्रीड फ्रॉम देयर अर्थली फॉर्म. राइट. सो ब्यूटीएस मोल्ड का जो मतलब है वो है, एक्चुअली दिस इज़ अ पोएटिक वे ऑफ सेइंग ब्यूटीफुल बॉडी. तो आप ब्यूटीएस मोल्ड को आप ब्यूटीफुल बॉडी से कंसीडर कर सकते हो. ठीक है. सो दिस फ्रेज एलिवेट्स द आइडिया ऑफ ब्यूटी बट ऑल्सो हिंट्स इम्परमानेंस. वो ये भी कह रहा है कि भाई अब नहीं है, तो मतलब क्या कहना चाह रहा है वो, कि ब्यूटी फेड्स आफ्टर सम टाइम बट इट्स स्पिरिट्स कंटिन्यूज इन अनदर एरी फॉर्म. राइट. तो यहाँ पर ये जो दो लाइन्स हमने पढ़ी, इसका जो ये मतलब है दैट इट सर्व्स, दिस लाइन सर्व एज अ ब्रिज बिटवीन द मॉर्टल वर्ल्ड ऑफ ब्यूटी एंड द मोक स्पिरिचुअल वर्ल्ड ऑफ सेल्फ. सो पोप plays with epic traditions and religious transformation, but does so to elevate the absurd rituals of aristocratic women to the level of divine myth, all while gentle ridiculing their vanity. Now the next lines are, thence by a soft transition we repair. So the self continues explanation, stating that after death they gently transition from human bodies to airy spirits. जो यहाँ ये word है ना repair, it refers to move or return. So they shift from one body, from one form to another. The first form is body, the human body, and the another is spiritual, right? So and the another one is smooth and peaceful as well, right? So there is a gentle transformation which implied from the physical beauty of a woman's form to a light immortal being. जो ये ना soft transition, it means actually it contrasts the usual harsh associations of death and decay. It becomes graceful and dignified in Pope mock epic world. So this adds to Pope's parody of heroic epic convention where the soul rises to a noble state. However, here it's a soul of flirtatious ballet that becomes a guardian spirit, humor rooted in exaggeration. The next line, from earthly vehicles to these of air. So, earthly vehicles, it refers to human bodies which serves as temporary vessels for the spirit, and these of airs refers to their new form as cells, air spirits who now float and dwell in the atmosphere, unseen but active, right? So जो ये दो लाइनें हैं, दो टू लाइन्स हैं जो ये, सो इट कंटिन्यू the mock epic elevation of trivial concerns. Pope's genius lies in taking something utterly superficial, beauty and social charm, and turning it into mythic process of spiritual rebirth. So, by speaking in the lofty tone of spiritual transcendence, he cleverly critiques the emptiness behind social vanity while also celebrating its poetic possibility. So these two lines brings us deeper into Pope's playful mythology. The self once human women, but now they have become airy guardians of beauty and fashion, and transition with poetic smoothness into their real ethereal roles. This movement mirrors Pope's larger goal, elevating the trivial to epic, only to show how shallow and comical it really is. Right? Now the next lines are, think not when women's transient breath is fled. So the speaker, who is self obviously, advises not to assume that when a woman dies, when her transient breath, which is life, leaves her body, everything about her ceases to exist. So the transient breath, it beautifully refers to the temporary nature of life, especially of a woman, as per the poem's concern. The use of woman here in a general sense evokes the collective identity of fashionable, socially vibrant women in Pope's contemporary aristocracy. So this line introduces the idea that personality traits, especially vanity, transcend mortality, which sets up the next line's punch. Next line is that all her vanities at once are dead. So the speaker argues that a woman's vanities do not die with her body. They persist in some form even after her physical death. So this is a satire at its sharpest. Pope humorously imagines vanity as such a strong and lasting traits that even death can't erase it. The idea is that even in death, a woman's obsession with appearance flirtation and repetition survives in the form of selves. So Pope continues his mock elevation with these trivial qualities. Here vanity becomes immortal. Yes, it becomes it become immortal, right? And as if it were a soul or a spirit, he mimics the tone of serious spiritual reflection only to turn it on its head by talking about makeup, hairstyle, and flirtation. So these two lines are a brilliant example of Pope's satirical satire. यहाँ पर इसने वैनिटी को डिवाइन बोल दिया है, उसको इमॉर्टल बोल दिया. सो these two lines are the brilliant examples of Pope's satirical style. He seems to be elevating the subject matter, but is actually exposing its absurdity. The idea that a woman's vanities do not die with her body support the fantastical premise of the poem, that such vanities transform into selves which continue to flutter around the living. By blending with classical metaphor and the social commentary, Pope turns even a reflection on death into a stage for comic critique. Right? Now the next line is, succeeding vanities she still regards. So this line continues Pope's mock epic treatment of female vanity. Even after death, the woman does not detach herself from worldly desire. Succeeding vanities refers to new and ongoing trivial obsession, which are fashion, gossip, games, and luxury. She still regards, it suggests that her ghostly fascination or even spiritual involvement with the changing trends of the living world. So the satire lies in how strongly Pope uh, emphasizes vanity's eternal grip, as if a woman's soul is tethered to new fates even after death. And though she plays no more, overlook the cards. So even though she can no longer physically play cards, a fashionable pastime among aristocratic women, her interest persists, overlooked the cards. It suggests that she watches from beyond, spiritually supervising the game. It refers to a game. So Pope subtly mocks how deeply such trivialities are embedded in the woman of fashion. They have become part of their identity and persisting after death. Her joy is glided chariots when alive. So glided chariots means it symbolizes wealth, elegance, and public display. So Pope is pointing out how such external ornamental pleasures were central to her joy in life. The word glided नहीं था, gilded. It also implies superficial shine, luxury that lacks depth. This furthers Pope's satire of aristocratic lifestyle and empathy, pride. Now the next line is, and love of ombre. Ombre is a card game after death survive. So ombre was a card game popular among aristocratic women. Pope exaggerates its importance, implying that this shallow pastime transcends mortality. Survive जो है ये यहाँ पर after death survive, it mocks the idea of spirituality instead of noble and moral ideal surviving. It's a card games and vanity, that too. So again Pope mirrors epic themes like soul's immortality to trivial female habits, creating sharp satire, right? So Pope's genius, through these lines we can see Pope's genius lies in elevating the trivial to the epic. Where once poets spoke of gods and warriors, Pope now places women, cards and chariots. So this inversion reveals a mortal emptiness of fashionable society while delivering brilliant poetic satire. So that's all about for today. For today, let us pause here on this curious intersection where vanity meets eternity and satire meets spirituality, Alexander Pope, with his masterful wit, has shown us how even the most transient pleasures can take on an immortal air when viewed through the lens of poetic irony. So let this reflection linger, that sometimes what we chase in life may follow us even beyond it. So in our next class we will pick up from where we left. From there we will pick up, इतना हमने ख़त्म कर दिया है. So we will pick up from there only and dive deeper into the poetic brilliance of the lines that follow. So until then, keep thinking, keep reading, and most importantly, keep questioning. Thank you. Good night.